Welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers.
We're your hosts, Mary Ann
and Ching-en.
Please join us as we explore the journeys amazing people take in pursuit of their dreams.
And get insights from their experiences.
Let's hit the road.
And get started. Hello and welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers. Today we are thrilled to have with us animation director and art director Aco Chang, Aco Wu-ching. Aco holds a master's degree in animation from the Royal College of Arts in the UK and a bachelor's degree in new media art from Taipei National University of the Arts. Since 2014, she has committed herself fully to the world of animation, expanding her creative expertise into illustration and game art, and collaborating with both prominent international and local institutions.
Aco's acclaimed works include My Grandmother is an Egg, which earned special mention at the Atlanta Film Festival and Taiwan's Women Make Waves International Film Festival, and nominations at top festivals like Hot Docs, which is in Canada, Flickerfest in Australia, and Aspen Shorts Fest in the USA. Her film, Bird, received a Golden Harvest Award nomination and won Best New Wave Female Filmmaker at the FFTG Festival in the USA. Another work, Hello to Me in 100 Years, was featured at the 2022 BFI London Film Festival.
We are excited to hear Aco's inspiring journey and to learn from her experiences as an animation creator. So, Aco, would you like to say hello to our audience and share a bit about yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Wu-ching Chang, also known as Aco. I'm an animation director and the founder of Aco Creative. My animated short films have been screened at film festivals around the world, addressing various issues related to feminism, modernity, and humanistic views. My films are often based on cultural context through interviews. In addition to directing my animated films, I have been working in commercial arts field since 2015, and I currently serve as an adjunct assistant professor specialist in communication design at Shenzhen University. It's an honor to be here and share my experience to everyone. Thank you.
For our audience to be on the same page, how would you define and describe animation?
Well, I would say animation is a powerful art form and medium that could transform ideas from director. And when talking about animation, people might think about the mainstream animation like commercial cartoon from Disney or Japanese anime. And there are lots of animation which is non-mainstream animation, which focus on the narration and experimenting and also could have more potential and possibility. And I'm so passionate about animation because I think it has a lot of opportunities and potential that are waiting for us to explore.
Can we start from the very beginning? How did you find your inspiration or your passion for animation? Was there a particular moment or childhood experience that sparked your interest? What drew you to this path?
Well, I have been passionate about drawing and storytelling since I was a child. When I was in kindergarten, my parents enrolled me in a drawing studio to learn sketching as a hobby. I remember working on a still life plaster casts, and the teacher complimented me, saying that I had a great imitation skills. But as a little kid, I misheard it as a magic skills. And I honestly thought they were telling me that I had magic powers. That little misunderstanding boosted my confidence and made me even more eager to create. And growing up, I was heavily influenced by Japanese anime and manga, particularly shoujo manga. During elementary school, I made it a tradition to create one shoujo manga book every year. I kept drawing manga throughout my teenager years. And when I entered a fine arts program in high school, I gained solid training in sketching, watercolor, design, and calligraphy. Later, when I was studying new media arts at Taipei National University of the Arts, I realized I wanted to pursue animation. I started experimenting with it in my second year, taking animation classes to sharpen my skills and deepen my understanding of its principles. However, my work was still heavily influenced by the anime and manga style I grew up with, and it was tough to break out of that box. My professors often encouraged me to explore new possibilities and styles, which was confusing and challenging for me at the time. Then came a turning point. My mentor, Professor Jamin Dai, hosted a RCA animation showcase in Taiwan and introduced me to experiment animation and different narration styles. It was my first time seeing non-mainstream genre of animation, and I fell in love instantly. That experience broadened my perspective and fulfilled my desire to dive deeper into animation. It was during that period of exploring new styles that I created my graduation film, Mother, which marked the beginning of my journey into the world of being animation director.
Well, I have one question you mentioned earlier. Something about show. I didn't catch the word show something manga. What is shogu?
Oh, shoujo manga,
Yeah,
which is 少女漫画. Which
shoujo.
is the comics for girls, for little girls.
When you say it's comic for girls, because I'm not familiar with manga at all, what do you mean by that? The themes, the stories are specifically tailored for a younger female audience. Is that the case?
Yeah, especially for younger female audience, like from 6 to 12 or 6 to 15.
What are the themes they talk about?
Sometimes romance.
Okay,
Yeah.
romance.
It's easy to imagine. And sometimes there might be other topic like friendship, family, something like that.
That sounds very interesting because for most Taiwanese parents, it's not very serious to, for their children to devote themselves into these non-academic fields like animation or manga. I'm just curious, was there any oppositions or different opinions from your parents or family that they don't want you to continue to develop this skill?
Well, I will say I was very lucky because my parents always support me to pursue what I want to pursue. In the very beginning, it was like a hobby to send me to the drawing studio when I was in kindergarten. And after that, I showed a big passion on drawing manga, on drawing comics, and I told them I would like to go to the fine arts program in junior high, but at the time they don't want me to limit my possibility. So I went to a common junior high school and then went to the fine arts program in high school. I would say they always supported me, and I was very lucky to have such parents that support their children's dream.
After graduation, you decided to study in the UK in the field of animation. So what were the motivation? Why the UK, not the US? Since there's a big industry in the US where there are more opportunities for you to find a job.
Well, it's a long story. In the beginning, when I started to prepare to study abroad, my goal was to study in the US. At the time, just like you said, I would like to do a master and to find a job abroad and to gain more experience. But after careful thinking about my dream, I think the education and the atmosphere, the environment of art in the US and in the UK, or we could say in the US or in the Europe, is a little bit different. Yeah, because I would say in Europe, they care more about the process of thinking when you create artworks, and the atmosphere of artwork making could be more experimenting. I mean, like to be more artistic on their style. And in the US, some schools will be more commercial, and just like you said, for students to study in the US, get more opportunities to get into a big animation studio or big animation company or game industry to get a job, because the training and the education could be more commercial, I would say. And I think both UK and Europe and US are very good. I will not say which one is better, but for me, when I start to make a choice between them, I start to think about what would I like to be in the future? What is my dream? So I start to think about this core issue, and then I decide to pursue my dream in the UK at the RCA. Living in London exposed me to a wealth of artistic and cultural influences. The boundless, free atmosphere of creativity in the city opened my eyes, and the UK's focus on critical thinking in art education continues to impact the way I approach animation. During my time at the RCA, I also discovered animated documentaries, which fascinated me. Animated documentaries combine animation and documentary filmmaking. These works often feature elements like interviews, historical archives, and live action, and they maintain the raw, unpolished qualities of documentary films, such as retaining the noise from phone interviews. What I love about documentary is it is so true. The style inspired my later works, My Grandmother is an Egg, and Hello to Me in 100 Years. In addition to animated documentary, my time at RCA encouraged me to experiment with a variety of mixed media. My experiences at RCA truly shaped me into an animation director.
What was your dream at the time?
My dream has always been to experiment in animation and to expand the boundary.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then were there any unforgettable experiences or challenge you faced while you were in the UK? How long were you in the UK, by the way? Was it a 1 or 2 year program?
The program is 2-year program.
Okay.
But during the time was pandemic,
Aha.
so I was in the UK for like 1.5 years.
Did you have any other memorable encounters that you had while you were there?
Well, I think my time at the RCA Animation was one of the most enriching experiences of my life. This journey not only expanded my artistic vision, I think it also shaped my way of thinking, but also laid the groundwork for the experimental and innovative spirit I continue to apply to my art today. And if you ask the memorable experience, I would say one memorable experience was an elective course. It's called resin analysis. So we also explored experimental sound. After creating a dynamic script without any sound design, each student would choose an object, and some students have metal fan frames and some students have trash cans or like wooden boards. So we each performed with our instruments and make some sound at the right moment when playing back the animation. And it was an improvisational exercise that allowed us to explore the experimental potential of sound in animation. And I really learned a lot from this experience.
You mentioned earlier that the themes that you tackle in your works are women's issues, modernity, and identity. Could you elaborate more on how these issues are meaningful to you?
Well, it's a good question. My interest in feminist issue likely stemmed from a personal experience. When I was a child, my father was the authoritative figure in our household, and his action heavily influenced the family's dynamics. So this dynamics sparked my curiosity about feminism and led me to explore gender roles and power relations, which deeply shaped both my thinking and creative works. Taiwanese society is gradually breaking free from gender stereotype. I think the patriarchal shadow still lingers. So through my animated work, I hope to inspire, reflect, and ultimately foster change.
What kind of change do you want to see happen through your films?
For example, from My Grandmother is an Egg, it's a story about my grandmother. She was a 童养媳, and it's a tradition of prearranged marriage in the past, people would sell or give the little girl to another family to be raised as a future daughter-in-law. And the girl would get married with the boy in that family. And sometimes the girl will have to do the household work in that family. I think this film, for example, give the audience a glimpse to the past and to let people think about what's the woman's operation in our time and what is the freedom for a woman. And I would like to foster change because I think there's still some gender issue we are facing nowadays. So I would like to make people think about it and reflect on their own experience, to think about their family, about themselves, about people around them, and to make change.
The next question. We would like to know how you as an animation artist, how do you usually develop your ideas? Like when you start a new project, what was the process like? Do you focus more on the storytelling or on visual style first? And how do you incorporate your personal experience and cultural background into your work?
When I begin a new project, I often draw inspiration from personal experience and cultural background, transforming my stories into works with universal resonance. In recent years, I have adopted an interview-driven approach during pre-production stage. The field research helps me to explore topics more deeply, and recorded interview provide a documentary-like authenticity. Then edit the recording to craft a director's narrative before visual production begins. So it's an audio first method, and it serves as the backbone of my creative process. I also experiment with mixed media, gradually piecing together visual elements through trial and error. This allows the visual and audio to complement each other in the storytelling process, and it's an ongoing journey of exploring and experimentation. Often I don't know where the process will take me, but the act of discovery pushes me to expand the boundaries of animated storytelling.
It sounds like the process is very involved when you start a project. So from an idea, like you're curious about something, and then you do your research, your focus group discussions, to actually formulating that narration or the storyline. Can you give me an idea of how long the process is?
Well, for the pre-production stage and for the interview, it depends on the project. But for example, for Hello to Me in 100 Years, this film, it took like 6 months for pre-production because it's a collaboration with Taiwan Public Television, and we hold the workshop with children, and we divided the children into 3 groups from 7 to 8, 9 to 10, 11 to 12 to have them draw a picture they talk about, because they are talking about the imagination of the future world. Yeah, so it was very fun. And for My Grandmother is an Egg, the pre-production stage was like 4 to 5 months. It usually takes some time to prepare the interview and to record, and also it takes more time to edit.
So 6 months for the pre-production, and then how long would it take to finish the production to post-production, like the editing? So it would be a total of 1 year? Would that be a correct time frame?
Actually, it take more than 1 year. Yeah, 1 year or like 2 years.
Is that normal in your industry?
Yeah, animation is a very intensive work. It takes a lot of time to draw frame by frame.
That's all the time we have today. Tune in again next week as we learn more about the animation industry from Aco Chang.
This is Ching-en Chiou.
And Mary Ann Sioco.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Want to stay up to date or view past RTI programs, videos, and news stories? come check out our website at english.rti.org.tw.